Hey everybody, this is Nate with another learning video for you. So let's get started. To get started, I wanted to create a folder in which I'm calling it Access Training. Typically when I work with Access, I'm going to have a folder that I'm going to have all my files in, and I want to make sure I try to organize my files as much as I can. It makes it easier to find them, keep track of them, know which ones I'm working with. So for today, I've actually got under My Documents, Access Training folder. Currently has nothing in it. Now, I'm going to swing over to here. This is Access when you first open it up. You'll see that it gives you an option of New Blank Database, or they have some templates that have some basic things set up. You would most likely still have to modify, but some of them are pretty good. We're typically going to work with a file that we've already started, or else if we're going to start with a brand new one, we're going to start with a blank database. When I click on the new blank database over here on the side, it says what do I want to call it, and I'm going to call this one Day 1 Getting Started. Alright, now it says that it's currently going into My Documents. I'm going to click on the little manila folder here, and under that I'm going to go and say, hey, I want this to actually be saved in Access Training. So now it's going to be into my D drive, Documents and Settings, Stout, My Docs, Access Training, and I say Create. It'll create a brand new database. It gives me the components. It starts with a table. It's called it Table 1. This table has not been saved yet. So what I typically will do is automatically save it, and I give it a name. In this case, I'm going to call it Students. I actually call it OU Students, if I can spell it correctly. There we go. So now I've got that. It tells me that right now I've got ID as a field. It automatically throws in the first one. This is what you look at when you are trying to enter data. This is the front view, let's say. Here at this first icon up here, I can either click on the bottom half of it, and it's showing now I'm looking at the data sheet view. That's the view that we're currently looking at. There's also a pivot table, a pivot chart views. We're not getting into those for this class, but then design view. This is behind the scenes. And this is what the behind the scenes look like. It says, okay, list the fields, the data types. If you want, you can put descriptions. That's optional. And there's a property sheet on the side. I can actually close that for now, and that way I can see more. This is showing me all the components that are in the database. Database is made up of tables and other components. We'll get into those later. Right now I want to look at how do I quickly enter some information. I need a primary key. So in this one I'm actually going to use something that's unique. Primary keys, they will have a unique identifier. So it has to be a unique value, and it cannot be null. That's what they'll say in database lingo, but really what it means is you can't have an empty value. You can't leave it blank. When you enter it, when you go in to enter a record, you got to have the primary key filled in. So I'm actually going to call this student underscore ID. In this case, it shouldn't be an auto number. It's my 4x4. So in this case, that's text and letters. I don't do any calculations on it, so I'm going to leave it as text. And this is OU 4x4. Okay. Now in the next one, I'd put in something like student F name. Notice that I'm putting capital letters in at the beginning of each one. Student underscore F name. I don't put spaces in. I could put it in without the underscores, and I go student F name, or I might put in student first name, and I capitalize the first letter of each word that I put in. That's a standard convention that people will use. You can either do that or else put in an underscore. I like to put in an underscore, the first word indicating what table I'm working with. and then an underscore, and then the name of the field. That way, when I'm working with it, I know first name, oh, that has to do with the student's first name. It's not an employee's first name. It's not a customer's first name. It's not a teacher's first name. It's the student's first name. Again, text. I can come down and say student, last name. I can say student, date, entered. And in this case, it's the date. So here I can look at all the different types. So text, memo, which is unrestricted. You can put any length of text in there, lots of notes, things like that. Number, which is, you know what that is, date and time. Currency, if it's a number like quantity, things like that, then leave it as a number. If it's currency, put it in as currency. It'll automatically format it. Auto number can only be used for a primary key. Yes, no. If I only have two choices, person is a student, person is a member, then you can just go, I want it to be yes, no. And the others you won't have to worry about except for Lookup Wizard, and we'll go over that in a later session. Okay, so date entered, I say date and time, and I've got it. Now, I can add other fields that have to do with the student, like their birth date and things like that. I'm going to save this. I can right click, I can close it. If I want to look at it, I do that. I can do, I can enter some information. The student date of entry was, let's say, 8/1/07, and I've got it in there. Okay, I can close. I can then close the database. Now the database is closed. When I come back in, it's listed here, or I could even come over here and go to my recent documents and say getting started. There it is again. Okay. Now I want to show you. I'm going to close it. I'm going to look at, here it is, day one getting started. It's 328 KBs. Okay. Now, if I come back over to Access, I'm going to open this up. Now it's open. Now I'm going to go back over to Access. Notice that there are two files now. There's this one, day one getting started, and then there's a day one getting started LACCDB. That ELM is a locking file. Notice it's only 1 KB. This indicates that this file, same name, but different extension, this file has been locked. Locked. L is for locked. So this is a locking file. It says someone else can't really open it other than, I mean, it comes back over to the one that's already open. But if someone else tried to come in, if this was on a shared server, somebody else could try to open it and it would say, no, this file is already being used. So that's why this file is there. It's a locking file. It has nothing in it other than a little bit of data that says this file is being used. When I close the database and I go back over it, the locking file disappears, which means it's now unlocked. Anybody else can open this. That's why it is extremely important that you close your file before you ever upload it to a Dropbox or you put it onto a different area. Always close that file. Get rid of it, because I've had people accidentally upload the locking file, which does absolutely no good. And you don't send it, you close the one file and then you send one file. Never ever send or move or copy, anything like that, the database while it's open. It's a good practice. Always close it before you're doing that. Okay? So we can open it back up and we can look at the file. I can click up here. I can go into Design View, play around with it. Go back and forth right here. Click. I'm in the back, behind the scenes, in front of the scenes. That's an intro to starting to work with an Access file. This is Nate. Hope you're having a good day.